arrived in Warrington and it's my first peer support group with these guys. A little bit nervous, not knowing what to expect, but that's, to be expected. I think when you come and talk to people that you don't really know that well and you're opening up and you're discussing your issues and everything else that goes with it, you do feel vulnerable. But that being said, I think I've been vulnerable in the past before and survived it, so let's give it a go. Make the most of it, because like I say, this is about moving on. This is about living your life, and that's what we need to do. So, here goes.
Hello everybody, this is just a short video to promote the peer-to-peer groups through Empower the Invisible. So today I'm off to Warrington to see Dan and Rosie to do some promotional filming work for peer-to-peer support. A big advocate of peer-to-peer support. Can and does save lives, can be the difference between recovery and death, in my opinion. It's that powerful. So if you're watching this and thinking about, can I go to peer-to-peer, what's it going to be like, am I going to be accepted, do it, because it's worked for me. And probably without certainty I could say that if I hadn't done peer-to-peer to work along with other therapies and stuff, I probably wouldn't be here. Thanks a lot, do it.
So, as you can see, I'm in the car. I'm ready to set off to go to a peer support group. I've been a bit all over the place this last few days. I know what it is because I recognise my triggers and stuff, and it's been a bit of a shock because it hasn't affected me like this for some time, but I know it's just my complex PTSD playing up and I've got the tools to deal with it. But I can go to the peer support group this morning and just dump it there, because only by talking about this stuff can I get rid of it. So I'm a bit apprehensive this morning. Sometimes I might come across as all singing, all dancing on the Empower page or on social media or to people that I don't know very, very well, but I still have some tricky days, but the difference is I'm honest about them now. So let's hope that after this morning's peer support group that I'm not feeling as what's the word, I feel a bit vulnerable. I'll just be honest, I feel a bit vulnerable, but I can't put my finger on it, So I'm looking forward to today's peer support group. Bye guys.
So today I'm off to meet up with some other survivors, some of my peers. I'm looking forward to today. I'm quite excited, to be honest with you. I've tried loads of other stuff in the past to fix my feelings, to deal with the past. Some of that stuff's been really useful and helpful, but it's got me to a certain point where it's ended and I've not been able to sustain my recovery. What helps me sustain my recovery is being around other people who understand what's happened to me, get why I use the coping mechanisms that I did to get through, don't judge me, and have some solutions for me. I can guarantee when I wake up in the morning that I will feel 100 times better, yeah? And there's just one simple reason why that is. It's about connection. It's about having a sense of belonging, and it's about being around people who are wishing you well and want you to move forward. That's some of that stuff that we've never had before, and this is why I really value what we do. People struggle to move forward and become kind of locked in that VHS tape where it's just going round in circles. Is it because we're so used to the pain and the misery that it becomes a comfort blanket to us and we get comfortable in our own shit?
I think it's partly our stuff, but I also think it's how others view us. When I deliver any kind of training or I'm sharing my journey, how I do it, I introduce myself as a fellow professional, and I tell them I'm going to give them a case study of somebody that I've worked really close with, and I tell them my own story, and you can see the pity and the hurt in the faces, but then at the end I reveal that it's me that I'm talking about, because as soon as you roll out, you know, somebody with lived experience, and the audience know that there's somebody with lived experience, I think attitudes immediately change like that. You know, yeah. And I think they view us differently, which is why I do it that way. Because when I get up on that platform, I am your equal. I don't want to be looked at with pity, you know. But in saying that, I use 12-step recovery for my issues with alcohol, and for the first 5.5 years I was in, you know, going to the 12-step rooms. They tell you, you know, for people that don't know how it works, to get yourself a sponsor and go through the 12 steps, and it's just getting rid of all your shit with somebody else, another human being. But I'd look around the rooms and I'd think, well, you haven't had the life I've had. You don't know what I've been through. And it kept me unwell, because I didn't trust people, because I lived in that, I've lived in that victim mode. If you had my life, you'd do such and such. If this had happened to you, you would drink 3 bottles of wine a night or a full bottle of spirits before you go to bed, stuff like that. And then I had to take the cotton wool out of my mouth and stick it in out my ears and stick it in my mouth and listen to other people. So I think some of it's down to us, and some of it's down to how others perceive us.
But ultimately, you've got to take responsibility.
Absolutely, I am responsible for my recovery. I'm not responsible for the stuff that happened to me when I was younger. I'm not responsible for none of that stuff. But I am responsible of making a valid choice, and in my opinion, it is a valid choice, whether I stay in that shitty quagmire of fear, anxiety, self-pity, or I come out fighting. Because that little girl that was me has the strength of an army. She must have done to get through what she did. So then I have to tap into that strength, because that's within me, and get well. Our abusers have had enough of our lives. They've had enough of it. They've taken enough. I refuse to let mine take any more. You know, and I'm not all singing, all dancing every day. I've come in here this morning and I've said I've had a rough few days, which I have. But prior to that, I've had a really good, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever. So if all I have to cope with is a few bad days once every now and again, that happens in other people's lives that haven't been affected.
You was talking about this morning, Lindsay, weren't you?
Yeah. I think,
go on, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think obviously you're rooted in your teenage years when a lot of things changed, and you go through puberty and it's still going off or it's just stopped or whatever's happening. You tend to it becomes a big part of your life, because as teenagers everything's magnified. And I don't think you realise that as you get older you've got to let it go a bit, because we were discussing the victim word, which none of us like, and you can't let it become your identity. But too many people, and with literature you see these books like say Child Called It and all the rest of it, which almost glorify the horror of the abuse. And then people think, well, that's what I'm meant to be. I need to be like him, I need to be like her, and whatever. And you don't. You've got to leave that abuse behind, because like you say, they've had enough of our time. They've had enough of our bodies and our pain. They've had as much as they're going to fucking get. And you've got to leave that victim thing behind. But it's I do think within society, within social media, look at it, it becomes a necessary part. It gets your attention and it gives you something, but what it's giving you isn't what you need.
No, it's negative attention.
It's negative attention. It's not what you need. You need to be out there, like I say, living your best life, because days are numbered. And don't waste it in pity. Yeah, fight, and you're going to have shit days. Yeah. I agree with you.
No, and this is the stuff that people don't want to talk about, and fucking, you know, calling people out for having that victim mentality and being stuck in that victim mentality. You know, we can't say that, or you can't say something to somebody because they've been abused. Sometimes a twat's a twat.
Yeah.
You know, people are frightened, or can be frightened of challenging people who have had childhood trauma. But like you were saying before, sometimes we're just a dick. Do you know what I mean? And we can't be using that excuse all our lives to not embrace life and move forward, because we're just feeding the perpetrator. We're just giving him power. Do you know what I mean? We're not taking any of that power back. You know, we can move on from this stuff. If we couldn't move on from this stuff, we wouldn't be sat here now talking. We'd be in the fetal position under a table, or drinking in a bar, or digging in a crack den.
Yeah. I think, like you say though, it's like as an adult, and I said this in my video when I did before, wasn't it? As an adult, one of the best things you've got is freedom of choice. You can make your own decisions, and if you want to survive and get past surviving, get to your best, it's your choice. You can do it. There's people out there. There's people like us. There's reaching out, find these people. You know, get your support, talk it through. But like I say, you don't need to dwell on the victim aspect of it. What you need to really work on is fucking making the most out of what you got left. Making up for that lost time.
There are though as well, you know, I have to acknowledge there are people whose experiences have been so horrendous, and they may go from that into a bad relationship, into another bad relationship, and you know, into a further bad relationship, and they've never been shown any goodness or kindness by anybody. So they haven't got nothing to compare it with.
Craving love and affection.
Yeah.
from wrong people.
And because I remember as a kid, I just wanted to be liked and loved. I didn't want none of that crap happening. So I was always, so then I became in my adulthood a people pleaser. Right, so I'd say yeah to people all the time, even at the expense of myself and my kids. I never ever said no to my kids. And my husband used to say to me, you know, if you say no to them, they will still love you. And I used to think, how dare you say that to me? I know my kids will still love me. But he was right. He was right.
Tough love.
Yeah, and I started saying no, and oh my God, did I know I'd started saying no, because they let me know loudly, my lot. But once you start saying it and sticking to it, it's okay. Because I did it with everything: work, friends, people, you know, people I hardly knew.
But when you've been abused as a child, you know, something I always say is like, my boundaries were smashed.
Smashed to bits, there is none.
And I became that person who wouldn't say no to fit in. Oh, Dan will do this, oh, Dan will do that. And I'd do it to be popular, to be liked, to have that sense of belonging. You know, that was really unhealthy. But what I've found today, through doing a lot of work on myself and taking responsibility for my actions after the abuse, I will cope with it. That, you know, all that stuff was really unhealthy, but the good thing for me about being surrounded by my peers is that I've created that new kind of sort of that new support network and that new family, in a sense, where people flipping understand.
Well,
I mean, I don't have to behave like that.
I always go back to the exhibition. You know, there was a book, when we did the Invisible Child exhibition, there was a book that you could leave comments in. And I actually remember writing in the book, I found my tribe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Found my tribe.
That's how I felt when I first started coming spur to spur. Because you don't know anybody, or you don't really meet anybody unless you go to things like that, and then you don't feel like you're on your own. You feel like you've got, you know, friends, and you don't mind talking about it because you've all been abused. It's not a pissing competition, you know. It's not. It's not about who's been abused the most. It's about how we come together and help each other and get through it. You know,
So what do you think of the word survivor, Paul?
I'm not fond of it. I don't want anyone's pity. I don't like self-pity either, you know. I just want to be pal. I'm not going to be known as a survivor or a victim. You know, that's a small part of my life from the age of 9 till 14. I've lived longer than that now, so I've had more years without being abused and being abused. And so I don't know that fact. Right, shouldn't have got work. Spent more years now living without being abused than being abused, and it took me a long time to realise why I was like the way I was, because when my abuse was happening as a teenager, and your brain's still developing, so like my partner says to me, Sue, sometimes when I do things and I say things it's because I don't know how to behave, because I wasn't taught them things in life, you know, and also I wasn't educated properly, and I wasn't shown what to do, like from your parents. We've been in residential school, there was nobody there to say, well, you do this like cutting your nails and things like that. Just things that you should know, but you don't. So yeah, but I'm nobody's victim. I don't think I'm a survivor. I'm far. I'm a living person. It's not who I am. Being abused. Like I said, I don't want anyone's pity, and I don't dwell on it anymore and think like, you know, I'm on my own, because I'm not. There's other people out there who are going through what I'm going through, and they need some peer-to-peer support and get help and advice and build a network. Because like I said, I'm a big advocate for it, and it's a matter, you know, of recovering or death in some situations. That's how powerful peer-to-peer support can be, and that has been for me. I'm proof of it. I'm still here, you know, like 4 years on nearly, and I'm back to how I was before I reported it. I'll never be, I suppose. Like I said, I like to be normal, but who is normal? I've said that to me.
I don't want to be normal.
Nobody's not. What's the definition of normal? But you feel different. That's what's the main thing. What's affected me with my abuse is I feel different to other people, and I probably suppose I always will. But that's nobody's fault. It's not. I don't want anyone's pity, or you know, what happened to me happened to me. It's nobody's fault, apart from the people who abuse me.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, like what Paul says, is like when you're growing up in the city, you go through it and you're trying to process it. I think as I've come to be an adult, one of the things I've learned is that I do behave differently. And like when I was younger, like my boundaries were smashed. I had no limits. I would do anything, fuck anything. It was just both, because I thought that was expected of me. And then as I've like kind of done a lot of thinking, a lot of talking to people, one of the things I see is like, I don't want to be in my ordinary life that person who's a bit of a freak show or a curiosity, where someone says to other, oh, I've got a friend who, I've got a friend who. And within peer support, you're not that curiosity. You are one of the gang, we're all in the same boat. And the more we do this and get it mainstream, is that within the wider community, people will stop looking at us like freaks. They'll say, yeah, you were abused, but fuck me, look what he's doing now, look what she's doing now, she's a fucking amazing. And I think you can take, rather than turn it to, like you say, your victim status, ditch that as best you can. And it is hard work, and it is a job. It's a full-time fucking job getting through it. But then I look back at myself now, how I am now, I have become, rather than a people pleaser, which I used to be, saying I'd say yes to anybody and do anything at my own cost. Now I look at people and think, how can I be supportive? If I know they're struggling in any way, whether it's abuse or whether it's just domestic life or the kids or whatever, the first thing I think is, how can I be supportive? But by actually making them realise, rather than me doing it for them, my whole perspective is, how can that person feel better about themselves? How can I make them realise that they are much more than what they think they are? And that's the important way. It's turning the language around, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's taking away the negativity and saying, right, yeah, that bad thing happened, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, but you did this to get through it, you've done that to get through it, look at what you achieved, look at it. You're actually more of a person than you ever realised you ever could be. And I think a lot of us are hypercritical, and it's a really hard thing, and saying it's a language thing. I like to slag myself off, I do it in humour, and sometimes I mean it, sometimes I don't. And it's something I'm working on, to change my language towards myself, so I can actually big myself up without being vain or arrogant, but just basically honest about myself. And being honest about myself, I will admit my faults as well, and I've made endless mistakes. But I'm hoping I've actually learned from most of them. And like I say, it's moving away from being that victim, because as you're a victim, you make mistakes, you've no responsibility. It's not my fault, I'm a victim, I couldn't help it. And we're adults, and we are responsible, and that's the whole point. We're responsible for the bad things, and we're more responsible for the good things. That's really important to me.
You can't use it to justify the way you behave or the
No.
way you want to be. You can't say, oh, I'm like that because I've been abused.
No, because then you're trapping yourself, aren't
Exactly, you're back to giving the person who's abused you control of your life still.
Yep.
Whereas you should just rid them.
You're self-prophesying all the time, aren't you?
Yeah.
What you just said about language is really important, right? Because a big part of recovering from childhood sexual abuse, and seems to be a recurring theme, is a lot of people felt shamed and dirty, right?
Yeah.
So a number of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago now, in addiction recovery, it's very common for people to say, I've been clean for such and such an amount of time. I was at a conference, and this really colourful character, Philippe, he got up on the stage and he talks about hepatitis C and treatment and things like that. But then he says, I do not tell people I am clean, because the opposite of clean is dirty. And I was never dirty to start with. And I adopted that for myself, because the opposite of the word clean is dirty. So, like, for instance, in a peer support group, we have people that come in that are in addiction, and they'll say, yeah, I've been clean for so long, and I did it in a peer support group, and I said to him, can I just ask you what is the opposite of clean? And he said, dirty. I said, well, I don't. I said, you can use whatever terminology, whatever language you like. But for me, for people that are in recovery from anything, and they've got childhood sexual abuse on top of it, for me to stand up now and say I've been clean for 8 years insinuates that I was dirty beforehand, and I've never been dirty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that language thing, it's just changing a word, isn't it? I actually tweeted about that the other day, that when you've got somebody with childhood sexual abuse and they're coming into addiction services, or people are asking them how long have you been clean, think about your language. How long have you been in recovery? You could change the word clean to recovery. So I like what you say, and it is about language.
But language is so subtle, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
thing. And I watched a thing on TV the other night, not about abuse, but it was about people that have been in cults. And when you go into a cult, you're programmed, and the key component of programming is language. And they're saying that people who have come from cults and in recovery and leaving it behind, they're never fully deprogrammed. And I think
So it's like the condition.
so for us, somewhere deep inside, you've got to be aware that somewhere in you there's still that bit of programming that was put into you as a child. And like you say, as a child when you're abused, you're coerced. There's language involved, there's threats involved, there's physicality, there's all sorts of things involved. Bribery, persuasion, and a massive part of that is the language that's been used. Whether it's language of, I don't like to use the word, but seduction or aggression or violence, it's all manipulation. And you don't realise how important language is. Anyway, you talk to yourself, if you're talking on your own in your own little head or with your friends, you can use negative language without realising it. And all the time, like Rose said about the word dirty, I used to use the word dirty. I used to think I was dirty for a long time, to the point where now, at home, I'm a clean freak. I wash my hands, not constantly, but a lot. My house is always clean. I can't bear dirt. I can't bear things not being in the right order. And I've got to the stage now where if I went to a pub, I would arrange all the beer mats symmetrically. Everything was in order. And that was I realise now, I'm trying to get order in my life through my language, through my behaviour, through my cleanliness, through my shoes. All these stupid things. So now I actually make a point of breaking my own rules. So I'll go to a pub and I will just leave the beer mats in. It'll drive me insane. But I do it because I'm deprogramming myself.
Yeah.
And I've got to do all these stupid little tasks, bit by bit by bit, because lots of little things make a fucking huge thing. And that's what is so important. It's deprogramming that victim status, because it's just, as a kid, it's put on you, and when your parents find out, when your neighbours find out, they perceive you as a victim, and as a young person, you pick up on it, and you think that's my role. It isn't. It's really hard to get that role, and it's a long, ongoing task to reprogram yourself or deprogram yourself.
Have any of you ever heard of the rat park experiment?
Yes.
Right, so rat park. It started off, it's a psychology thing, right? It started off with one bloke with a rat in a box, and if you hit this lever, he'd be fed opiates. Right? The rat was taking the opiates, and it's been redone many times, and then another psychologist comes along and thinks, well, hang on a minute, if you've got somebody in isolation, so you've got a rat in isolation, and you're just feeding it opiates, it's going to take the opiates, isn't it? Just because it's lonely, it's disconnected, it's got no support. And he built Rat Park, and in Rat Park there were many more rats, there were toys to play with, there was food, and there was opiates on tap. The rats didn't use the opiate because they had connection, because they had people, because they were living in a good environment and things like that. So if you, when you're stuck in victim mode, and I can talk from my own experience with it, you don't interact with other people. You don't keep yourself in nice surroundings, you know. You don't care about your appearance or what you look like. Or the flip side of that is, you do care about your appearance because you want to put on this fake show to the outside world. So you carry on like everything's hunky-dory. But going back to that, but you're still disconnected. You're disconnected from other people and from your peers. That's why things like 12-step meetings and support groups for whatever area, you know, eating disorders, alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addicts, you know, it's connection with your peers. And that is what peer-to-peer support does.
So on that note, what you're saying now, Ro, so it's like talking about them masks not being useful anymore and putting them masks down. So Paul, how have you got, if we just go around, how have you got to the position you are now? Who are you, Paul?
Man, Paul. So I got to where I'm through. I suppose first of all, I would put it to the police and admitting it to myself, and then getting therapy and help, and then finding chat bars and Pack UK and getting peer-to-peer help and groups and coming and learning from other people.
So did you have to accept what had happened first before you could move on?
Yeah, I had to admit it to myself because I'd blocked it out so much. And it had always been there, and I had like nightmares of dreams of waking up in the night and things happening to me, and I'd blocked it that much that I didn't know why and what it was. And it wasn't until one day I sat down and thought about it, and I told Sue, and she said, "You need to go to the police and report this." And then from there it just all spilled out, and I understood myself more. I got in touch with me and myself, I suppose, and realised that why this has happened and this is the way I'm feeling. I mean, it got worse before it got better, don't get me wrong. I was better before I reported it to the police, I think. But I wasn't wasn't Paul, I wasn't who I should be. But now I've come out from the other side, I've got that experience and I know myself better now, and I suppose I love myself now. Whereas before I didn't like myself, and I felt different, but now I feel like, you know, especially with peer-to-peer, you've got like it's what it's like I said to you, it's like I've got a family network, friends, you know, I've made friends for life, I think, and I know that if I need any help, I can contact any one of you.
But you know what you just said there, Paul, and it's dead important for me, that is, you said that you love yourself, and that's the conundrum. So if you're stuck in that perpetual victim mentality and stuck on that tape,
always going to not like yourself,
not liking yourself, so why the hell would you put the effort in to something that you don't like, as in yourself, to flip in, spend time on yourself, cherish yourself, feed yourself positive stuff to move forward. But sometimes you've just got to take that risk and listen to other people, what other people are saying, and see other people who are well. You know what I mean? To think, you know what I mean? If they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, of
You know
course.
what I mean?
Like you said many times, you can recover. We're testament to it. We're here. We've done it. You know, it's ongoing. We could go down, we could go back, but you can get into recovery, and it's about staying in recovery.
Because it's
doing
like
the right things. That you've got to put the effort in. You can't just sit there and just ask for help, and then when someone's offering you help, don't get off your ass and do it, because you're not going to get anywhere.
So you're talking about taking personal responsibility.
You've got to do it yourself. You can get therapy, you can sit there, you can get help, but you need to do it yourself. You need to put the effort in, otherwise you won't recover, in my opinion.
Lindsay?
I mean, Paul's nailed it there. I mean, I know as I came after my abuse finished, and then I was like say 13 onwards, I dumped all my abuse on one abuser because it was easier for me to handle. But then my behaviour wasn't good. 1 minute I'd be compliant, next minute I'd be rebellious, and I swept from one pole to the next pole. And I didn't, for a long, long time, I wasn't responsible for my own actions. And looking back, I think I used it as a get out of jail card. I could do stuff as a teenager, go completely off the fucking rails, do what I wanted, and then go, well, I can't help it because. And then I think, like I say, parenthood changed a massive thing in me. In my 20s, late 20s, I actually fessed up to my wife at the time that it wasn't just one abuser, it wasn't a number of abusers, including a family member, and it got complicated, it got messy, it was horrible, dealing with it. But I think from that moment in time, I actually started to realistically look at what had happened, rather than just react to what had happened. I took some responsibility for it, and I talked it out. And like you say, you can talk so much about what happened, and you can talk it to death. It ain't going to change. The only thing you're going to change is your perspective of it. So for me, I thought, right, I've got to be, you know, I've got a life to live. I've got kids. I want my kids to have a far better fucking life than I did. I still protect my parents from what happened because they don't know one of my abusers, and they'll never know because it's not going to achieve anything. But I've sort of like I say, reprogramming language that I use, and I have shit days. I have days where I do behave badly still. I have days where I'm suicidal, and all the rest of it. But at the same time, deep inside me is this absolute fucking rebellion, this anger at the word victim, and I won't be a frigging victim anymore. I'm not going to give it that. So yeah, I have times where I'll hide and I have to like get my strength back and get myself together. But I'm not ashamed now, and like I used to feel dirty, and that was the word I used. I won't use that word anymore. I was a child that couldn't defend himself. I was manipulated, I was bullied, there was violence. And then I say, look at that kid there. That kid there can't fucking stop anything. That was me. And that's the only way that I've actually managed to reprogram my brain to realise it wasn't my fault. And once I've done that, I think I'm a big ugly bloke now. You know, I can fight most people. I'm not scared of anyone because I've been through the worst that can happen. Everything else is just words. And words ain't going to hurt me anymore. And like I say, in the broader community, I will tell people what happened, not in great detail, because it doesn't need to be in great detail, but I was like, I went through that, but having said that, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. I reckon I've paid my dues. I'm a decent bloke, I'm an half decent bloke, or a decent bloke, whatever you want to look at it. But I'm living my life, and I will push anybody who's in my position to live their life too, because that for me is the important bit. Yeah, acknowledge what you've been through, but it's done. I can't change what you went through. All I can do is change from here onwards. I can do whatever I can to help you change. And I do see this as a job. It's a fucking work in progress, and it is hard work, but it's bloody worth it. It really is.
Rose?
I had many different masks. So I was like aggressive, attack before being attacked, very, very defensive, couldn't cope in any shape or form with any kind of criticism, and I've let them down one by one. Like I'd be somebody at home, somebody else in the supermarket, somebody else in a meeting, somebody else at work, And amongst all that, some days I'd actually sit there and say it out loud. You know, I'm very lucky, I have a really good understanding husband, and I'd say to Richard, who am I? Who am I? You know, because I was just always, well, who am I? Well, I know who I am today, you know, I'm an adult who, through no fault of her own, was raised by people who put their depraved needs before the children's. And you know something, that's alright. If that had to be if that was my path, then that had to be my path. But now, what you see here is what my family see at home, what people see at work, and I had to get, I had this brick wall that was just like a defence shield, and nobody ever got past it. And eventually, I've got a glass sheet now, so you can see who I am, but I'll only let you round if I trust you. And trust is something that has to be built, you know. But the word victim, and survivor, I don't even like the word survivor.
So what's a better word than that, do you think? Or isn't that word needed?
I don't think there is a word needed. You wouldn't look at, like, so you see an adult, right, that's been run over, right, you wouldn't call them a road traffic accident survivor for the rest of their life, would you?
No.
Right? Or you go to school from 5 to 16 and you're a pupil. You don't call them a pupil for the rest of their life. So my abuse happened from age 3 till I was nearly 16. Yeah, I was a victim. I'll hold my hand up. I was a victim then because I was powerless to do anything about it. And then when I did do something about it, when I was nearly 16, I got laughed out the police station, you know, but so yeah, for them years I was a victim, but I believe that through them years as well I was a survivor, because you survive it, don't you? So yeah, that I stopped being a survivor when I stopped being that victim. All the rest from then on in has been my reactions, normal reactions, normal responses to abnormal trauma, you know. And I've been medicated since I was 17. I'm 48 this month. When me and my sister reported our abuser in November 2016, after that investigation, after the officer had done all our stuff, he wasn't arrested till first Monday in January, because I'd said to her, is he going to be arrested before Christmas? And she actually said to me, well, when do you want him arrested? Do you want him arrested before Christmas? And I'm like, wow, somebody's given me a choice. And we actually said, no, let us get Christmas out of the way. But when he was arrested, just before he was arrested, I'd gone to my GP, told my GP what was going on, said my antidepressants weren't working. GP gave me this absolute chemical cosh. I took these new medications he gave me on the Wednesday, and I didn't get out of bed till Saturday. I was like lucid, in and out of sleep, and it was the medication. So when he got arrested on the Monday or the Tuesday, whatever day it was, I actually remember getting all my antidepressants and Zopiclone for sleeping and all that out of the cupboard, and I threw them in the bin. And I said to Richard, my husband, I said, if I'm going through this shit, I'm going through this shit without that shit, numbing it all the time. And lo and behold, I didn't fall apart. I didn't, you know, nobody fucking died. I'm not going to say it wasn't easy. It was easy, because it wasn't. And going back to what Paul said, I found going to the police re-traumatised me.
because you can't relive it on.
To a degree that I just was not expecting. Absolutely traumatised me.
What you remember when you start talking about it,
Yeah.
surprising what more comes out that you've blocked out and stuff, and you keep sitting there saying, is there anything else you want to tell us? And oh yeah, there's this, and it could go on for hours.
Yeah. Especially when it's spanned a long time, and there's been a lot of it. So I would say, while I don't regret reporting, because I don't, I wish I'd had peer support before I had to say, look, this is what it's really going to be like. This is what it's really like. You think you're going to go into police station, give your evidence, he's going to be arrested in the day after, and he'll be in court next week. Doesn't happen like that. You know, our investigation was 13 months long, and we found out 6 days before Christmas that he wasn't going to face any charges, and I just absolutely fell apart. I would say that is truly when the masks came down, because I just, probably it's the most scariest time I've had in my life, because I have children and grandchildren, and I genuinely wanted to die. I couldn't think of moving forward with life knowing he wasn't going to get charged.
No justice.
But somebody said something really, really powerful to me on Christmas Eve. So from the 18th of December to Christmas Eve, I hadn't washed, I hadn't brushed my teeth, I hadn't brushed nothing. And in that period as well, I'd had to promise my husband that if I couldn't keep my life safe, that I'd walk into casualty and tell him I couldn't keep my life safe. Whether I would have done that or not, I don't know. I don't know whether I was just appeasing him. But on Christmas Eve, somebody, you know, I walked into a room full of really strong, amazing women, so a form of peer support. Some of the women in the room had experienced childhood sexual abuse. But one of them stopped me, pulled me to one side at the end of the meeting, and she said to me, you know, you got something much more powerful than legal justice. And I wanted to punch her, but how do you know how I feel? And she said, because you not only have you reported into the police, but what you have done, you've ripped up a secret silent contract that you were forced into when you were a child, that you had no choice in. Yeah, she said, you've ripped it up, you've thrown it back in his face, and now for the rest of his life, every single day for the rest of his life, when somebody knocks on the door, because CID told him, if any more evidence comes to light, we'll be back.
He's waiting for a police to knock.
Well, he has to live the rest of his life like that, and I've passed the burden on, so I was able to drop all them masks.
The police said something similar to me about that, about people that I couldn't get justice for, about the physical abuse, because it was, you got to go to court within 12 months, so it's gets, you know, you can't do anything. And they did question them, but they said they're always going to be sitting there thinking, is it going to be, who's knocking on that door? Is it someone else?
Yeah.
Who said something? So they're going to sit, they're going to be in fear, you know, and the families are going to know about it. So
Yeah.
you do get a bit of justice in some way by making them feel the way they feel. But
yeah, but I could live with that. When she put it across like that to me, it was like a light switch moment. And it's really weird. The morning after, which was Christmas Day, I woke up and something really profound had just happened. You know, nothing like... nothing that I could put my finger on or name it. But I got in the car to drive from my house to my daughter's house to pick her up for Christmas dinner. And I was on the M65, and just all of a sudden, right in front of me, right over the motorway, came a rainbow. And I knew then, life is going to be so much better. This is on my terms. And something else I realised that helped me, that may help others, I'd always seen myself as powerless. Well, I realise now that all the while, the abuser is actually the powerless one. They are powerless. They're the ones that, you know, with what's going on in the media and, you know, loads of people coming forward, there must be abusers up and down the country absolutely shitting a brick because they don't know if they're getting
not
or not.
coming.
Good.
But this is where I think the peer-to-peer thing comes in. It's like, I know myself, what I think in my head is one thing, and when I reason with myself in my head it comes out one way, but then when I articulate it out loud, it changes, the whole substance of it changes. But then within peer-to-peer, when you start speaking and someone responds and then you listen to someone else what they're saying, you think, fucking hell, why didn't I think of that? And it hits you right there and then. And like you were on meds and meds and power. I mean, I've been on meds since 26, from 18 to 20 onwards.
I don't promote just
No.
being in your meds.
No.
That was how it was
But
for me. It worked for me.
I ended up, I think I did 3 years on maximum dose of lithium and I couldn't function, it was horrible. And I've been programmed, same again, that if I take my meds like a good lad, things are better and all the rest of it. And then one day I cold turkey my lithium and I'm against all advice, but I thought, no, I'm done with it. And I've binned everything. And I've had a little bits of meds since, not a lot. And as soon as I feel okay, I bin them and I come off my wheels. Because the moment I'm taking meds, I'm in someone else's hands. And when I'm in my own hands, it's my responsibility, it's my decision. And I always feel stronger and safer making my own decisions. So if you need meds, and I say, I know when I need meds and I will take them as long as I need to take them. But as soon as possible, when I feel within myself that I can do it, I want back all that control. And this is where peer-to-peer comes in, because you can listen to the people. People have got experience, people have got knowledge. They will articulate something that you might feel, but you can't articulate it. But then when, like I say, either Don or Paul or Rose says something, I think, whoa, yeah, that hits me. And I take that away because I think, right, that's what I felt, but I couldn't put it into words. But Rose put it into words or Paul put it into words, and I like that, I'm keeping it. And it's all about, for me, the whole thing about peer-to-peer is one, you're not isolated. There's a lot of experience there, there's a hell of a lot of experience there. And you can see that, hang on a minute, we've all got through it, we're all of a certain age, you know, and we've all got through it, so it's all reinforcement as well. You're not allowing yourself to be in that isolated, negative place.
So on that note, if I think we're kind of, you know, there's nothing special about us, we've found the confidence to speak out, we've not got no superpowers.
I'm special.
We've not got no superpowers, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody can do what we've done, and that is recover. And I think we're, you know, us sat here talking, doing the stuff we do, is evidence that we do recover, and that's the message what we want to get out there. So if ending on, if you've got one message or one thing that you could say to people, what would it be? Do you want to start off, Paul?
Don't be on your own. Don't sit there worrying and thinking you're the only person, because there's thousands of people out there like us who are going through this and haven't got the help and peer-to-peer, and you need to do it, you know. It's not
For yourself,
for
innit?
yourself, yeah. You've got to work at it. It won't come to you on your own, but you've got to put the effort in, and don't feel embarrassed about it, or that you're on your own, or you don't know what to say, because I felt that at the beginning, but you don't have to speak. You can sit there and listen and then slowly open up. You don't have to spill your guts out and then, you know.
Thanks, Paul. Lindsay, final words?
Final words, reach out, speak out. I mean, to paraphrase Confucius, he always said that the longest journey starts off with one step. And I think the longest conversation I'm going to have starts off with one word, speak out.
Well, I like that.
Rose?
Mine would have to be my favourite strap, and it is a strap line, you know. You alone could recover, but you cannot recover alone. No, so trust the process.
I think for me, one of the most important messages is, you know, when having therapy, counselling, doctors, you know, accessing services. You know, what do you do when that stuff ends? What do you do to get you through that process? What do you do when you report to the police and the services are shut? There's nobody you can ring. Do you know what I mean? So for me, what my key message is, there is a way to sustain your recovery. When counselling finishes, therapy finishes, or whatever finishes, yeah, that's when we're kind of left alone, and that doesn't have to be the case. You don't have to be alone. There is support out there. There are peer support groups out there, so access it. Don't be stuck in that shit, isolated place of pain when there's a solution. Just go and grab it, take responsibility for your recovery, and enjoy life. It's there to be enjoyed. Like you said, Lindsay, we've not got many years left. It took us a while to get to this point. You know, so it's there if you want it. It's accessible to anyone. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be anything. You just have to want that willingness to get better, basically.
Can we have a buffy now?
Okay, just got home after the peer support group. I have to say, I am buzzing. This is the way forward. You're not jumping through hoops for professionals to get what you need. You're not waiting months, whatever, to access someone who may or may not help you. You are with people who are on the same journey as you, people with experience, people with passion, people who care. It is just such a feeling to come home. I've driven 2 hours all the way, smiling. I felt empowered. I felt like a weight was off me. Just the fact that you can talk with people who understand what you've been through, what you're going through, people who can support you as you recover, people who allow you to be yourself. And it's not just that, it's like we get labelled as victims and survivors, which I really, really detest those terms. I really detest those terms. We're ordinary people who've been through extraordinary circumstances, and the point is we're here enjoying life, fulfilling our lives, fulfilling our dreams. We're not trapped anymore, and that's the whole point of recovery, is you aren't trapped in your past. Your past is what it is. You can't change it. It's not going to change. It ain't going to go away. But your future is unwritten. Your today, you live for today. You make the most of every day. Take the best out you can. If it's a shit day, it's a shit day. Tomorrow's a fresh start. But the peer groups, you are just dealing with people who are as passionate as you. People who absolutely understand. People who can nail it for you. I really am struggling for words right now, because I can't put into words what I'm feeling. It's just absolute. I'm charged. I'm buzzing. I just feel that I know I'm going in the right direction, and this is, every day is a start. Every day I learn something. I talk to these people. I listen to these guys. There's a huge amount of wisdom there. Just absolute human insight. And that's the real thing, is human insight makes a difference. You don't need people who've read endless books, people with degrees, people who are going to prescribe loads of medications. Yes, at times you will need some of that, but your recovery is from yourself. Your recovery is a strength you find within yourself. It's a strength that you find amongst your peers, the people who really, really understand you, the people who can feel what you feel. And it isn't about reliving pain. It's not about reliving misery, because that doesn't help anybody. Yes, you've got to deal with it. You've got to talk it through. You've got to learn to accept it. It is what it is. That's never going to change. It is what it is. It's been what it's been. But what the peer group does, it allows you to think, right, I can't make a huge difference, but I can make a significant difference. And the point being, if we all make a significant difference to ourselves, to each other, to the next generation, we are going to change things. We're going to fucking change things massively. And what Dan and Rose have set up doing, this needs to go everywhere, because the benefits, you can't even quantify them. You can't quantify them. This is just real people taking charge, regaining control of their lives, regaining control of everything around them. And it's a freedom. It is an absolute freedom. And if anyone's watching this and thinking about do I, don't I, ooh, I'm not sure, is it for me? Do you know what? It fucking well is for you. All you need to do is reach out, speak out, and you will come 1,000 miles very, very quickly. Seriously, guys, this is it. This is what we need to be doing. I can't express just how fantastic this is, but seriously, get involved, do whatever you can, just be part of something that's absolutely fucking amazing. Go on, guys, go for it.
Just left the peer support group, and to be honest with you, I feel miles better. My head's less cloudy, got some clarity, and like I said before, it's about that connection with people who get it. You know, and this is what I need to do to sustain my recovery and keep well, and keep my mental health topped up, because if I don't, I start going crazy. And it's as I thought. You know, feel loads better, feel like lighter, feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. It's the way forward. Recovery groups are the way forward.
Hello everybody, Paul again. So my thoughts, feelings and conclusions after a peer-to-peer group. Thoughts, yeah, it's good to speak to other people who are going through similar things as you and get their perspective on things. Feelings, yeah, I'm quite happy. Sometimes I go into peer-to-peer with, and I feel like the weight's on my weight of the world's on my shoulders, and my shoulders are painful. When I seem to come out, the weight's gone and I feel relaxed, and that's through talking about, you know, the problems that I'm going through and getting ideas from other people in the peer-to-peer groups on how to get through situations. Conclusions, big misconception that males, mostly males, also females, is to keep your feelings in, and that's probably a big contributor to the suicide rate of people that have been through abuse trauma. So yeah, come to peer-to-peer, build yourself a network, because it will change your life for the better. Thank you.
So, just come out of peer support, feeling much better than I was this morning. Made some connections with people, was very honest, and that's the beauty of peer support. Yeah, it's been a really good meeting. There was only me and 3 others this morning, but it worked well. Sometimes there's more of us, and sometimes 4 of us is enough, and it's worked really well. You get a lot of understanding. So I was able to say, you know, I'm having a bad day, I've had a bad few days and I don't know why, but now I feel that's lifted, and that is the beauty of peer support. So that's, for me, that's recovery in action. You know, I'm not going to get well by just sitting down and woe is me and feeling sorry for myself. I've got to go in there, get honest, get real, and share it with another human being that understands where I'm coming from. So yeah, really good peer support group this morning. So now today, brand new day, and onwards and upwards. Thank you.